So many of you have asked me what are the permanent residency options once you have studied in Australia. Hello everybody, my name is Suman Dua. I'm a registered migration agent in Australia. So one of the most important things that you have to do is choosing your course wisely, because all your future options will depend on what you have studied in Australia. It is also very important that you take an eligible course in Australia for a minimum of 2 years duration so that you are eligible for a temporary graduate visa, which is a work visa provided to international students in Australia. So let's say that you have taken up the right course and you become eligible to get your temporary graduate visa, which could be anything from 18 months to 4 years initially. And then some cases, if you have studied a higher education in a regional campus, you may get a longer 485 visa. So once you have completed your studies in Australia, you have gone on your temporary graduate visa, which is the 485 subclass. The main thing that you have to do on your 485 visa is organize your skills assessment. So for many occupation, you might be eligible to get your skills assessment pretty much straight away as long as you have studied in Australia. But in some cases, you may require 1 year work experience to get your skills assessment sorted. For many international students who have studied in Australia and have got the skills assessment, the only option available to them is the skilled migration visas, which is subclass 189, 190 and 491 visa. So it is a points tested visa, and I have explained in detail about these visas in one of my other videos, so I will put the link in the description. So the good thing with these visas is that as long as you are nominated by your state or your occupation is on the high demand list, in most cases you don't need a lot of experience to get the invitation for these visas. So these visas are highly suitable for international students who have studied in Australia and have got a skills assessment. But also note that many states require you to have some kind of work experience in your nominated occupation. So it's always a good idea that you're working in your field of study so that you can meet the state requirements to get invited for one of these visas. We have also seen that sometimes getting a skills assessment and getting the invitation all does not happen during your temporary graduate visa, and maybe the skilled migration pathway hasn't worked out for you. But one good thing that you have done is that you have always worked in your nominated occupation. So if you're one of those, you have worked in your nominated occupation and have got a minimum of 2 years work experience, you may want to start looking at the 482 visa, which is the temporary visa where you need the employer sponsorship. So as long as you've got an employer who's ready to sponsor you and you've got the minimum 2 years work experience in your nominated occupation, you may start looking at the 482 visa. I have explained in detail about this visa in one of my other videos. I will put the link in the description. So it is a temporary visa which is available from anything from 1 to 4 years depending on your occupation. So if your occupation is on the MLTSSL list, your employer can sponsor you for 4 years, and if your occupation is on the short-term list, then your employer can sponsor you for up to 2 years. So many applicants, even if they do go on the 482 visa, in the background they keep trying for the skilled migration pathway, which is a points tested visa, subclasses 189, 190 or 491. Because once you go on the 482 visa, you can still look at the skilled migration pathway as well. As long as you become eligible, you have enough points, you may get invited from Department of Home Affairs for the 189 visa, or you can also get invited from your state as long as you meet the state's requirements. As 482 is not a permanent visa, you still have to look at ways on getting a permanent residency in Australia. So while you're on the 482 visa, of course, you will be trying for the skilled migration pathway. But if that does not happen, once you have got the 3 years full-time work experience and a skills assessment on the 482 visa, you can start looking at the 186 employer-sponsored visa, which is a permanent visa. It is a direct permanent residency, but you need to have your occupation on the 186 list, which is the MLTSSL list. In some cases, that does not work out, so you will have to look at other options. So luckily now we have the regional employer-sponsored visa, subclass 494. So for the 494 visa, there is a very large occupation list. You still need a skills assessment, and you also need a 3 years full-time work experience to be eligible for the 494 visa. And of course, course, you also need an employer who's ready to sponsor you and who is based in a regional area in Australia. So if you meet all these criteria, you can look at the 494 visa, which is granted for 5 years, and it does have a permanent residency pathway after 3 years. So these are all the options available to you if you are somebody who's planning to study in Australia or is already studying in Australia. As you can see that the key to success is working in your nominated occupation. So in all these scenarios that I have discussed, the applicant needs to be working in their nominated occupation. So I highly recommend that you start working in your nominated occupation as soon as you start studying in Australia. If you're somebody who is studying in Australia and would like us to draft a PR pathway for you, please get in touch with us. Stay updated about Australia's immigration. Make sure that you subscribe to our channel.